transcription because it makes me crazy because it's like typing what I'm saying, so then I get all thrown off. All right, and then let me share my screen real quick so we know what we're doing today. And then I am going to introduce our speaker today, and you guys can introduce yourselves to her. I want to show you that on our website now, you guys, the Connect Pima website, in case you haven't looked at this, on the right-hand side here is the information about community advisory board meetings. And I'm going to reformat this a little bit, but you can see the last 3 meetings on here, and it will have what our agendas were, the meeting minutes, and the video links. So for today's agenda, that link is right here. And what we are going to do, goodness gracious, it made it so tiny. What we're going to do today is just do some real quick introductions. Everybody tell, who you are, so that Erica knows who she's talking to. Hopefully everybody got a chance to look at the minutes from July and August, so we can just say yay or nay to those. And then we're going to go into our strategic planning our conversation, and then wrap it up with action items and be done with our meeting today. Okay, let's stop sharing our screen. I think I heard a ding ding. Does somebody let everybody in? Okay, great. Thank you all for being here today. Again, I'm Michelle Simon, Director of the Office of Digital Inclusion. Hopefully you all know who I am. And if we could get you all to introduce yourselves so that Erica knows who she's talking to, and then we'll introduce Erica. So Mary, let's start with you.
Hi, I'm Mary Machado. I'm with the Office of Digital Inclusion, and I am Michelle Simon's assistant. Hi, Erica. Hello, everybody.
All right. Nikki, let's go with you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Nicholas McCarthy. I'm down in Arivaca. I'm the manager of the Arivaca Community Garden, and I'm also the vice president of the board, the Community Center board.
And Carlos?
My name is Carlos Baez. And I know Erica. Again, my name is Carlos Baez. I'm with the Sahuarita Food Bank and Community Resource Center.
Awesome. And if you're not talking, do me a favor and mute yourself, because background noise, it just gets a little loud. Mike, why don't you go ahead?
Mike Edmonds. I live in Tucson House. I'm also involved in Thrive in U05, the enhancement program for the 85705 zip code area. I'm also the community liaison for Vice Mayor Kevin Dahl of Ward 3, and involved in all kinds of digital inclusion and equity and repair and education and stuff. I'm a geek and a nerd. I'm a tech.
Awesome. That's great. Caroline, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Caroline Lewis. I'm the Community Engagement Program Manager at the Pima County Health Department. Happy to be here.
Great. And Jennifer?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Stanowski. I'm the Director of Workforce Development at Literacy Connects, and our department works with all of our adult learners in our English Language Acquisition Program, as well as in our Adult Basic Literacy and GED programs to prepare them for careers.
Awesome. Amber?
My name is Amber Wells. I work for Pima County Community and Workforce Development Department. I am their digital engagement coordinator. So I just make sure that we are connected to, we can connect to people digitally, and that the information is clean and direct to them.
Awesome. And then Manny.
Thank you, Michelle. Hi, Eric. Great to meet you. My name is Manny Felix. I'm the founder and CEO of the AC Cyber Initiative, and we're a nonprofit that provides direct programs and services for youth, educators, and community at large through more focus around cybersecurity education and digital equity and inclusion. Great to be here.
Awesome. And then Erica, so you know that we have a couple of board members that are not here. Chris Sanderson, who is a professor at the U of A, Montserrat Caballero, who works adult education at Pima College. And I'm being very short on what it is that they do. They do a lot more than what I'm saying. Steve Peters, who runs the Arizona Broadband Stakeholders Task Force as part of the Arizona Technology Council. And then Alan Thomas, who is a deputy director in Pima County's IT department. So Erica is here with us from Lead Local. I'm very excited about the opportunity for her to share with us and to help us with our strategic planning. And Robin Bro, who is the co-founder, I guess, of Lead Local, isn't able to be here with us today. She is out of the office, but we are in good hands with Erica. So Erica, why don't I let you introduce yourself, and we'll get started from there, because as far as the minutes go, I hope everybody read them, but we don't have enough people here to vote on them. So we will, oh, and I almost forgot Alan Wallen, who is also from Arivaca and runs arivaca.com. He is out today as well. Okay, so Erica, go ahead.
Thank you, Michelle. And nice to meet everyone. It's nice to see some familiar faces as well. So as Michelle said, I work with Lead Local with Robin Bro. Many of you know her as well. We do a lot of community-based, culturally anchored design work, and that's what Michelle has brought us in to do here as a consultant. Outside of my consultancy work, I'm from the Southwest. I was born and raised in El Paso, Texas, moved to Tucson for high school, and then have been here for the last 15 years permanently. I just finished a PhD in Mexican American Studies. I do a lot of work in public health, education, and community-based work. So outside of the consultancy work, I work in public education at Tucson High. I'm a dual enrollment teacher, so I teach Mexican American Studies there. And it's great to see how interrelated this work is and how these needs really need to be met, just seeing the families and the students that I work with as well. But to get to the pieces for today, this is like our kickoff of really beginning our work with you all as an advisory board. And a lot of the work that Robin and I do is iterative. So what I'll go over today is really giving you an overlook of what we talked to Michelle about and really got her eyes on, but also we need your input and your eyes on this work as well. So we're going to go over a timeline, talk a little bit about what human-centered design is. That'll be really what is leading our work moving forward. If you don't know what that is or never engage in that, that's okay. You probably have, just don't name it as this way. We'll talk a little bit about that, and then what the timeline looks like, roles and responsibilities, and where we want to get you all to by June. But this is very much, we're just here to help build materials, be just kind of a feedback loop for you all when we're meeting monthly, and then help you all with some community outreach and feedback spaces there. So what I'm going to do right now is throw in the Word documents in the chat. So as I'm presenting, I have some slides that are exactly what you'll see in the Word documents. But as I'm presenting, feel free to unmute and ask any questions or give me any input in the moment. But if you prefer to just add comments into the document as we go, that's fine too. So I'm going to throw the first document in there, which is our timeline. And then the second one is really talking about the activities that we've discussed with Michelle and want your input as well as what our human-centered design projects look like. Perfect. Any questions before I jump into the slides? Okay, cool. All right. Let me just share my screen. I think I could share. Oh, 1 second. I never used Teams. Let me give access. All right. All right. Perfect. All right. Is everyone seeing that okay? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
I
cool,
just start. Yep, go for it.
Perfect. All right. Let me put it in present mode. Okay. Awesome. So what we're seeing here is what we're doing today is really looking at what our timeline is, getting your input, adjusting timeline of activities, roles and responsibilities, and then our human-centered design goals and the strategy with you all as the advisory board of the Office of Digital Inclusion. So if you had never heard or haven't heard this term, human-centered design, sorry, I have a chihuahua and she's a little crazy. Human-centered design is a problem-solving technique that puts people who use or are impacted by products or services at the center of the design and development process. So in the terms of this project, it's really about the digital equity and inclusion and putting them at the center of what that looks like and how they could be involved. And in order to best meet their needs. So the goal is to keep users' wants, pain points, and preferences at the forefront of every strategic decision. So what I'm hearing from you all are very community-based and culturally anchored. This is not anything different from what you are already doing. But just it's very intentional in thinking about who we are here to serve and what their input is. And when we're used to systems, it's from the top down, correct? And we're really looking at from the bottom up. All right, so then in November's meeting, this is the meeting that Michelle just put on your calendar. So we'll discuss that at the end to make sure that that fits with folks. We're asking for a 2-hour in-person meeting time. So that'll be a really great time, one, for us to bring forward, again, these human-centered design activities that we've already started. We'll get input on you again from you today, input again in November, and then by December, Robin and I will have these activities ready to go for you all to use in community outreach events, focus groups, and whatever else you all design and think of in that November meeting. So we'll do an overview again of the human-centered design planning, identify planning goals, and then the 5 years outcome map, review the proposed timeline for the activities, and then develop deeper roles and responsibilities once we're starting to get more of these logistics and tangible pieces going. Again, like I said, we're very iterative in our process, so we'll adapt the timeline, adapt those activities, and then the roles to meet board identified planning goals and ODI outcomes map. Any questions there? Okay, perfect. We'll just keep rocking. And then in December, that's where Robin and I, from that feedback that you all give us, and just a lot of the work that we do together in November, we'll solidify those activities that we will use moving forward. So those activities that I'm talking about, I'll show you a little bit about what we discussed with Michelle and what we're thinking and what we have used as best practices. But you'll use those activities in gathering community input at events that we'll put on in, that you all will be part of already, but in February and March. So we're providing all the support to be able for you to all be trained and ready to facilitate those spaces. Robin and I won't be the ones at the events. That's all up to you all as an advisory board, and then your connections. So really leveraging your networks and gathering data. So we're really thinking about gathering data as far as community input. And we'll talk a little bit more about how that'll inform your process. Okay, so in December, we really are using this like HCD event model. So like I had said, what human-centered design is. But specific to the ODI planning process, we'll use these events in order to learn from users, constituents, and get their direct feedback. So the strategic planning process will incorporate HCD events as concurrent activities at community events or as standalone events facilitated by the advisory board or CBO partners, so a community-based organization. So again, Robin and I will provide all of this facilitation training and materials, which we'll translate, and then they'll be in different accessible formats. Any questions there? All right. So some of these activities, I'm sure you're all excited to hear about them. These are things that Robin and I have used multiple times in our consultancy work. Has anyone ever heard of empathy maps before? Oh, great. Thank you, Michelle. So this is something I use with my students. We use in the community to just really gain insight of what folks' needs, wants, and pain points are at different users, right? So the results from this activity provide data to help understand what their pain points are, interests, and then specifically around digital tech. So I'll give you an example here of something that we have used before. This is very specific to education, but it looks like this, right? It's just a map. who is at the center. It's usually the individual, and asking these questions about this one specific to Apollo mission, the Apollo Middle School. So thinking about what a successful graduate looks like, asking these questions, and for the person to fill out. So what does she think? What does he feel? What inspires him? And we would make these very specific around digital inclusion. And again, this is not something that Robin and I would create and then you all just give us a thumbs up. We're gonna create this together in that November meeting. Does that make sense? Yeah, go ahead, Michelle.
I just was gonna ask,
Hey, Erica. Sorry, this is Manny. Just one quick question. Will the activities be relevant to how our respective organizations can implement them?
Definitely. And that's something to, well, it's like not specific to the organizations. Are you, Manny, let me ask you a clarifying question. Do you mean for you to use within your organization or in the collecting community feedback?
Right. Or I guess what would be the goal of those activities?
So it is that like this HCD event model is really doing mass outreach in the spring. And so that's what I was saying is we kind of thought about like 13 to 15 events, but Michelle was saying very much that we'll use these materials at any outreach events. So they could be used individually or in sequence, but it is really thinking about any community events or any spaces that you're in with folks like constituents or people that really you're looking to outreach, is asking them their input on what their experiences are with digital inclusion.
Gotcha.
So it
Thank you.
It wouldn't be specific to the organization, although you could use these too for any other projects as well too. But it is very much based for the like, we want to collect all this data and then we'll use it at a data party in April.
Sounds good. And that helps me understand going into this exercise and from what perspective to approach it and receive it.
Perfect.
So thank you.
No, good question, Manny. And we'll prime you all again in that November meeting. But these are great questions, so we all are getting on the same plane. Michelle, what were you gonna add?
well, just so everybody knows, so like in the chat, I put events, what we're talking about. But remember what we're doing with this process is we're moving from Pima County's one-page digital infrastructure and inclusion action plan to a comprehensive plan of what Pima County as a whole should be doing to create digital inclusion. Okay. And so what I was going to ask here is your empathy map looks a whole lot like the persona maps that we created when we were working together on the recompete. Is that something we might be doing as well? Or, I mean, is it similar, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Yeah, definitely. This example is very specific to education. What Robin and I want to do in that space is really give you all a bunch of pieces to really look at and think what would best fit in the community outreach space. So the empathy map is just one part of the piece. So it could be the empathy map, or we could just throw it out, right? It's like this is the first discussion around that. That November meeting is where we'll bring you a lot of different materials, what we've used before and seen as best practices in community outreach, especially gaining folks' perspective and insights on what their needs are. And then that data will inform you all moving forward. But this is just one of the options. So this is a lot of little tasters, and then we can bring more too. If y'all feel like there's some gaps or you're like, these aren't gonna really work, we could pull forward some other things. So that was the empathy map. Things that we've done before, like these sentence stems. So it is really thinking about if you're out there tabling or at a community event and engaging with folks, is like what activity would be most useful. Like I said, use one, multiple, etc. We do like to use like 2 to 3 different methods just to meet different accessibility needs. Some people love surveys. Some people love to draw and just describe. And especially when we're thinking about age ranges of folks you want to interact with. So this next one, thinking about digital journeys, is really having folks engage in like these sentence stems. It's kind of like Mad Libs. So these stories, their purpose is to provide insights into user-specific device and access needs. So participants will be asked to tell their own digital story and journey. So again, using something like the sentence stems you see on your screen. So that could be like triggering a memory, right? So I remember the first time and then they finished the sentence, and really around digital use. So then today I use what kind of technology to do what. And then this also looking to the future, I wish I knew how to, which this does really provide a lot of rich data in seeing what folks what comes to mind and under their circumstances and their needs. Any questions for that one? So again, that's an option. The third one we have is access mapping. So this would be something very like interactive, having a big map or poster where participants can indicate where they access the internet, types of digital devices they use, and what they want to do online. So really understanding preferences, but then also accessibility and where they're already doing this. Where's the saturation and where's the needs? And then also commenting, being able to like get public feedback. So participants can provide feedback on the progress of what you all have already been doing, and really looking at that one pager and putting it into like a big poster board and having folks indicate with sticky notes or through a QR code survey of what they've known and already accessed because of the progress and what they're looking forward to. And then lastly, we could do something like My Digital Vision. So participants can create visions of what tech they will be using 5 years from now. And that'll really show you a spectrum of what folks have access to currently and what they're looking forward to in the future. Any questions on all of these? Is there some gaps that y'all are thinking, or any other practices that you all have used that you'd like to share with us? We're good. Okay, let's keep going. So again, like we're gonna revisit this at the November meeting. Robin and I will bring some more prototypes. But after that November meeting with y'all's feedback, then in December we'll have these materials solidified, and then we'll keep going from there. So let me get back to the timeline. So in December, we'll be done with all the materials. And then Robin and I will really come up with this data collection and management protocol. That's the big heavy lift, and we're taking that off of your backs. We just really are going to build the materials, give you all some facilitator training, not only you all, but also folks that are community-based organizations that will be involved in collecting community input, and then walk you all through those steps. So in January's meeting, again, like I said, iterative, we'll review those materials that Robin and I have solidified, and then create a calendar for the human-centered design events. And then around that, when we create the calendar, Robin and I had discussed with Michelle that we would set up like a few different Zoom meetings where folks can just drop in, review all the different materials that we have built. Again, it won't be just you all as an advisory board doing this outreach. There'll be other community-based organizations involved. So whoever will be doing that tabling, doing that outreach can attend those facilitator trainings that Robin and I will lead, and then really get to know, okay, how am I gonna engage folks in this empathy map? Or should I use the poster at this event, et cetera, and then whatever else we come up with. Any questions there? All right. And then in February, we'll have more facilitator training and support if folks are coming up and new. But though that will be the time that these events are really taking place. I mean, as the materials are going, it could start in January, February, March. Whatever events that you all know you will already be at in the community. Again, it could be tabling, but say you're working with a group of folks and wanting to do a focus group, that's something that we could do as well. And using these materials in different ways. Go ahead, Michelle.
I just want to jump in here too when we say facilitator training and support. So train community partner organizations. That's not just us. If we can get other community partners to participate in this effort with us, okay, this would be the time that we would have them come to our meetings like this and ask for their help in gathering this feedback from the community.
Exactly. Perfect. So I think that just any data that we're collecting, feedback is a nicer word. Data sounds so rigid. But all of this feedback that we're gathering from folks is just going to be so informative. And every time we do a process like this, there's so many different surprises that we never expect. So it's a great way to really center those that we're meant to be serving. So then Robin and I, after we've done these facilitator trainings, built those materials, just February and March is up to y'all. And like Michelle had mentioned, community-based organizations that are doing this outreach and collecting this feedback and data. We'll just be, once y'all gather that data, you won't have to be inputting it or anything. We'll work with some youth interns that will be helping us with some of the data input. And so the February and March meetings will really be us giving you all some updates on that. What are some trends that we're seeing? February and March, what events we've been to, maybe seeing where gaps are and where we need to be doing more outreach. So that would be February and March. And then in April is really, once all that data and feedback is collected, then we'll have this half-day advisory board strategy development workshop. So Robin and I like to call these data parties. If you've done any work with Robin, you know how they are. Sometimes people don't think data is fun, but it is. So we make it a party. And this is the time for us to review everything you all have already been collecting. And we do it very facilitated and a great way for you all to see the trends and then inform the next steps moving forward. So we'd integrate with your eyes on it, analyzing that data. We'll integrate those findings into your Office of Digital Inclusion Outcomes Map to develop the next iteration of those strategic goals and then objectives. Again, we'll review that in May, and then that's one big question we have is around gathering public feedback on that stage of the piece, something we could discuss further too. And then in June, review the feedback, adopt and adapt the strategic plan. I think we have a question.
Hey,
from
Erica.
Jen. Go ahead, Manny. No, go ahead.
Just for the group, I just wanted to provide one use case. I work with Erica and Robin specifically for AZ Cyber Initiative, and we even applied this human-centered design approach to a grant that we received from a partnership with Jobs for the Future, which is a national nonprofit, and Google.org. And we were able to bringing the people that you serve within your organizations into the conversation and help you design the programs or services more effectively to more intentionally serve the people that they're intended to. And from those results, from all the data parties and all the interviews, every single step, that has helped drive our overall vision and North Star for our organization. So I've experienced very positive results from this approach. Just for those that are maybe new and don't know how this may be relevant to or applicable to your organizations, or even as a advisor to the board. So just wanted to keep that in a perspective.
Thanks, Manny. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's very different work sometimes that we're not used to in our spaces. And so I'm glad and I'm thankful for you providing that feedback. One question we have here, Jennifer, is there a goal for how many people will give us feedback so we could see trends? And that's really up to y'all, but I mean, the more feedback we can get, the better. I do a lot of work, like in mixed methods, a lot in qualitative work, and that's what really this stream is. So as much as we can get, great, but I don't know, Michelle, did you have any like objective there?
Well, I think the thing is the different ways in which we would gather information, right? So there are going to be opportunities for online participation as well as in-person participation. And also I put in the chat, I believe a 30-day comment period is warranted. And we also need to get input, like kind of once we've done that hard work and we've gotten community feedback during that 30-day comment period, then, and we finalize it ourselves in June of 2025, that's where it really needs to go to county administration, go to the Board of Supervisors, talk to other county departments about how it's integrated with the various plans that already exist in the county, and how we're making sure that feedback is incorporated. So just as it's important for us to talk to community members, it's important for all of you to think about where you work and how are we incorporating feedback from you and your organization into this. So like Caroline works at the health department, Amber works at community workforce development, Alan works at IT. So that is Pima County focused, but very different work. Okay. And then how the rest of you work at community organizations or are involved with specific things in the community that you're looking at it from a different perspective. So we want to hear from you as well, not just, hi, go get stuff from community members. We want to hear from you about your experience and what you see with the people that you are helping through your organizations.
Exactly. And that's that piece too, like that, what that made me think of is really in this data analysis piece where we are the filters, right? Especially in qualitative data analysis, it is our lived experiences on the day-to-day piece that we're using our perspectives and to use a critical eye there. So it'll be really important to have y'all doing those pieces and in different ways. I just want to reiterate too that it's like these things could be very quick activities or like I said, could be focus groups. So we've run these before with when Robin and I were helping design Tucson's first participatory budgeting process with Lane Santa Cruz's Ward 1 office. And it was a lot of this community outreach of like, what projects do you want to see in your neighborhood? Or how do you feel community is and how do you want to be more connected? They could be 5 to 10 minute interactions, 1 minute interactions, or hour-long interactions. So that's really up to you all and based on the design of what these events look like. But thank you for that, Michelle.
Yeah,
Anything
and
else?
let me jump back in just because I don't think I really answered Jennifer's question. So
Oh, yeah.
how many people? There are 1 million people in Pima County. If we were just going to try to get 1%, okay, that's still way more than I think we could possibly ever get to respond to what it is that we're doing. So I think when we have the conversations in November, that would be a great time for us to really come up with a realistic goal for how many people we're trying to, what is the sample? The larger the sample, the more accurate the data.
Exactly. And we discussed too, it's like if we're already having these events going on, this is a great way to just pull in a quick 1 or 2 different activities to have at a booth when you're doing outreach events. So that's something that we'll discuss in November too and really get that going. So thanks for that, Jennifer. Perfect. Cool. And then, so this is just a quick first draft of what we thought about roles and responsibilities. We'll get more into this at that November meeting. But the consultant who would be Robin and I will guide the process, right? So with you all as the advisory board, we'll develop all those materials we've been talking about, train facilitators, and then the big piece too is managing and processing that data. So if y'all are out there collecting some of this feedback and data, it's raw data, we'll take it, get those youth interns to input it, and then bring it back to y'all in a nice form for the data party. So the big lift for you all is one, these meetings, right? The monthly meetings, but then also helping us do a lot of this community outreach that you are already doing, not trying to reinvent the wheel or create new events. But we'll hammer that down again in November. So then you all as the advisory board and then the Office of Digital Inclusion. So really setting the vision, connecting and coordinating with community-based organizations who will host these HCD events related to the strategic planning. We'll get more into that again in November. And then as far as community-based organizations and partners, which could be many of you in this advisory board, is facilitating those events, collecting data generated from the HCD activities. And then again, data collection will not require any data entry or interviews. So all that data collection will consist of organizing participant responses gathered through the activities. Again, we'll take that raw data. If it's an empathy map that's filled out, we'll take all those empathy maps, input them, and then have them ready for you all in the data party. And then again, Robin and I will do a lot of that training. We'll build the training, do the training, and that could be provided for both facilitation and data organization. All right. And that's all I have on there. Again, I had thrown those links in. Let me throw them again, and then I'll have them available for you all if you're starting to think on things and add some comments. So let me throw those in the chat again. But like I said, we'll revisit this at the November meeting, and everything is iterative. So
Can
there's
I-
the timeline. Yeah,
Can
go
I
ahead.
ask for anybody on this meeting? So we know Manny has participated in a human-centered design activity, and he gave us his thoughts. Has anyone else on this call participated in human-centered design, strategic planning, or even program planning? And what was your experience with it?
I can add a little bit here.
Okay, Jen, thanks.
We went through a 2-year process with the Pima County Health Department, Advancing Health Literacy initiative, and did a human-centered design process, which was absolutely amazing to be part of. It was incredible to see how well the actual activities that we did at the end matched the needs of the community. Like, it was just incredible. So the positive side is it really has incredible results. The difficult side of it is it can take a long time to get to the point that you have a quality product or what you're going to actually do as an intervention or as a service. So saw both sides of it. It can, if you have the time, it's absolutely the way to go. It can be hard with grants, to write grants and write into grants because you don't know until you do it what is going to be the best thing to do. So it's interesting that way, but it's fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Anybody else? It doesn't look like it unless somebody is slow to hit the unmute button. So go ahead, Erica, finish up with whatever you.
Carlos, you've been in our stuff before.
I was waiting for others to say something.
You're so kind.
I do feel that this is the best approach, and really thank you for doing this.
No, and I thank you all for the work that you're doing. I mean, that's what I was trying to say too, is like you already doing a lot of this work and really thinking as community as central and putting them in the forefront of the mind. But I think in every space of our work, it's great to have that information, even in the strategic planning piece, and different information comes out, right? And I think that's a great piece of like having different activities that you would use to tailor to that community outreach piece. So giving you all a bunch of different options on how to fit that and even fit folks' needs, right? If there is different age levels, different needs, different literacy levels, what could that look like? So it feels a little lofty now, and especially if you've never done some of this work, but like Jennifer's saying, it really works, takes time, and that's a lot of time and effort. But that's why y'all have us, right? We're really helping guide the process, Robin and I. And Michelle's done a lot of this work as well, so we really appreciate her bringing us in on this. So really helping us solidify those pieces moving forward. We'll get to that in November, but I think it'll be a great new skill for y'all to get. I use a lot of this stuff in my classroom as well, and it's just so antithetical to any other American education that I had been with. So it's really hard for my students to get used to it. But the critical consciousness starts coming up, and also that piece of community. So it's like when you're getting your voice heard, you're going to be more involved. So I'm thankful for you all for letting us be here and help you guide you through this process. But then we'll get to see each other a lot. So in November, we'll have an in-person meeting and really get down into the weeds with this. Anyone else have any questions? The last thing I had on my slides there were, and I could stop sharing too, were that next meeting, Michelle. So I'd seen we'd thrown November 20th on the calendar, correct? Wednesday, November 20th, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then it would be at the ODI office downtown. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Cool.
Does anybody have a problem with that meeting? We've been struggling with our community advisory board meetings and this time. So we really need to identify a different time altogether. But this is a 2-hour special meeting yes, it will be our community advisory boarding meeting, but it's to do this work. Okay. So November the 20th from 10 to 12. And really we should think about, you know, the day of the month and times that we have our meetings going forward that are a bit easier for everyone to attend. Okay. Does everybody know where the Public Works building is in Pima County? Downtown? Okay. That's why I put the address on the thing, 201 North Stone. We're on the 5th floor. And we all have food and snacks, and we have a kitchen, and we got all kinds of stuff, and a great space where we can work. And we'll validate your parking, so don't worry about that. Just park in Public Works and we'll take care of it. Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, I'd thrown those 2 documents in there. So in the next few weeks before we meet again, if y'all are thinking of anything, feel free to email Robin and I. I can throw my email in the chat. But if you're saying like, oh, I'm looking at these proposed activities and I think there's a gap here, or I'd like to see a few more options, let us know and we can come up with that before we have that November meeting.
Yeah, if you can put Robin's email in there as well.
Definitely.
And everybody, you are more than welcome to reach out if you have a epiphany of some kind and you're like, hey, I need to email Erica because I have this question. Please do. Okay. Because Erica and Robin will report back to me and we'll work through all the things. Okay.
Perfect.
Great.
All right. Let me throw Robin's in the chat. Okay. Okay, there we go. Anything else?
And you know, we have a few extra minutes right now, and I wanna ask everybody, and this is just for my own edification. What would you like to see Pima County doing? What do you need as an organization as it relates to digital inclusion? What are your hopes that the county, as the, you know, the governmental entity, would do to help the people that you are serving?
Maybe if
You
you're
don't-
able to help find some funding, like grants, for different things, devices, outreach, education. Those are just the first things that come to my mind. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. That's great.
I would love to see, I don't know enough about it yet, but I would love to see more of the Hive kind of model that's up in the Phoenix area, expanded down here, with the digital navigators, with access to devices, access to skills training, but like this idea of kind of embedded hubs or hives all over, not just in like public spaces like libraries, definitely there as well, but in housing communities, in other communities, just that it would be really easily accessible for people to know where to go and get help and normalize that. And absolutely low cost internet that's easy to sign up for, that doesn't take 20-page application and 20 forms of verification. I mean, let's go for the gusto. Can Pima County give free Wi-Fi to everyone? That would be save the world.
Well, I would have a few people that would be unhappy about that.
Yeah, I know. But we're dreaming here.
But we have to look at all of the things, okay? I don't know if you all have looked at other municipalities in the state. I would point you towards Mesa. Okay, so Mesa decided that they were going to make sure that every single household, business, whatever it is, in Mesa has 1 gig speeds. Okay, at all of their locations, and they were going to make sure that everyone had access to fiber and all of the different ways that they had to do that. They have multiple providers that are putting in internet, but also there was an area of their community that they said, this spot, these individuals are never going to be able to afford internet without detriment to their own financial stability. In this particular community, they had a lot of data, adoption rates, socioeconomic data, that kind of stuff. And so they literally set up a CBRS network for that one particular community, so those individuals could have access to free internet. Okay. So there sometimes are use cases for that. And so, from my perspective, I want to make sure that we're looking at all the different options for our community members.
Michelle, do we know what the relative size of Mesa is to Pima County?
Mesa is small, okay? It's tiny, okay? But for them to, I want to say it's like a few miles square. It's not as tiny as city of South Tucson, but it's not nearly, it's not even the size of city of Tucson, right? It's very small in that perspective.
Okay.
But
And the only reason why I ask is wondering how they were able to do it. I think it's great that they're providing connectivity to everyone.
Yeah, they have been working on this for 10 years. And when they got ARPA funding, they dedicated ARPA funding to it. Okay, millions of dollars of ARPA funding went to broadband expansion. And so looking at how they're doing that, and like the city of Tucson as well. The city of Tucson just recently put out a request for proposals for a consultant firm to be able to create a fiber to the premise program, okay, that would result in all of the broadband serviceable locations within the city of Tucson having fiber internet. And what does that model look like that it's self-sustaining at the end of the day? And what kind of seed money would the city of Tucson need to start that process? And so we have a great municipality right in the center of our county doing some awesome stuff. Okay. And so that's why it's real important for us to work with our other municipalities to identify what it is that they're doing. So we're not duplicating efforts, but we're leveraging the assets or the work that each is doing to make it better for the county as a whole.
Hey, they didn't tell me about that. I missed that meeting.
Yeah, well, it was a whole procurement thing, Mike. So,
Oh, okay. That was the whole,
Yeah.
there's the building
Yeah.
across the way. I get it. Okay. Yeah.
mhm, mhm.
I do have, I don't know how this plays in Pima County. I don't know how you all do this, but so as I understand it, so Cox has got the contract for the city of Tucson, and then what is it? Xfinity has a contract to provide service within Pima County. Now, I also had a meeting, a city meeting with Ting. And I haven't heard from them for a long time, but a friend of mine, who I'm sure does not live within city limits, says it's informed me that Ting is about to provide fiber to his house. So how many? This is a question for later, for answers for later, if possible. How many different other providers does Pima County have available to them?
So Pima County currently has contracts just as a county for the work that we do in our own facilities. We have contracts with Cox, Xfinity, Lumen, Verizon, and a number of contracts that the county uses to facilitate our own work. Okay. But the middle mile ring that we are putting in, okay, and the potential to receive BEAD funding from the state that is in process right now will promote a higher number of internet service providers wanting to come into the community. So you mentioned Ting. Ting has a right-of-way use license agreement with Marana, and they just put one in for Sahuarita as well. So they will be putting their wireless internet access in those two areas. I know an internet service provider called Ubiquity just reached out to Pima County wanting to put their wireless stuff in a variety of places in unincorporated Pima County. There's also Resound Networks. Resound Networks has a lot of the regional development funds, the RDOF funds for putting the Regional Digital Opportunity Fund is what it's called, for putting networks in there. So Resound Networks will be trying to do fixed wireless, but there's still a significant number of gaps to where the internet service is being provided. So, well, there's going to be a lot more competition within the next couple of years.
I can think of one other thing I'd like to see. Just
Sure.
expansion of telehealth services, especially out in Ajo. I've been going out there a lot lately, and they've expressed a huge need for more telehealth stuff.
Well, it just so happens, and I'm not for sure if you're aware, Celia and Matthew helped us with this, but we, Pima County, and a large group of community organizations put forth an application to the Digital Equity Competitive Grant Program specifically for that. Telehealth access points and digital health navigators, not just covering Pima County, but Pima County, Santa Cruz, Cochise, Graham, and Greenlee counties. Okay, so
Perfect.
so if that
Fingers
grant
crossed.
program was oversubscribed, they only had $1.25 billion and received $6.5 billion worth of applications. So, if it gets funded, yay for us. It will be very competitive, but the program that we put together is very comprehensive, and we should look for other ways to fund that if we are not funded in that way.
Here are some conversations I might like to have months down the road, depending on what Pima County Public Library wants to do. Because remember, they were talking about closing some libraries and stuff, and now they're reconsidering that. My concern is that, and this is probably just, personally, from my personal experience, if they close certain libraries or they limit services and hours and all that kind of stuff, I know how it would and has affected me. So it's gonna hurt a lot of people, in my view. I guess maybe we can use the term third space that Starbucks coin, like when you're not at home and you're not at work, potential third space. That has always been my third space. That was always my go-to. So what possibilities are there if Pima County Public Library has to pull back to create some third spaces or hubs or community spots or something that gives that has access to like free Wi-Fi, free internet, maybe even terminals?
I think that's a great point, Mike, and that speaks to what Jennifer was talking about. I don't know if you all have looked at IDIA's Hive model. It used to be the Digital Equity Institute through ASU, but then now they have a different name. It's IDIA. They're community organizations where they have set up a nice space where a digital navigator can be there, and there's computers available for people, and they're putting equipment so people can it's a telehealth access point, so people can do telehealth appointments. And it's also got some comfy furniture, so you could sit there and use the Wi-Fi if you want. You don't need to have help. And it's within a community organization that's already providing services to people. And so really working together to make that happen. And IDIA is providing like the technology to go into that. And then the community organization is providing the space. I very well see us doing that. That's why the Office of Digital Inclusion currently is doing learn to earn classes at community organizations and not at the library. That is extremely intentional, because the library is also using the services of Literacy Connects to do computer classes. And we don't want to confuse the issue, but we're trying to expand the reach. Okay. The libraries, even if they do close locations, it's about efficiencies, and it is about providing service in different ways. It's not that the library doesn't have money. They are struggling with some staffing models. And it is important for them to truly look at what they're spending on buildings and those kinds of things, and how they can still provide service, Mike. So like you're talking about, if we're going to close a library, what community organizations are there that the library can work with to still provide the service level that's required for that part of the community. And so I think that's what they're pausing and trying to get some more input on. Okay. But yes, to all of these things, I think it's great. I think they're all great ideas, and we should have those conversations. Anybody else? Okay, so we have 4 minutes left. All right. And in that 4 minutes, we just need to recap on all the things that we talked about, right? So Erica provided us with a whole bunch of information. In the chat is the link to the high-level timeline and high-level examples of activities. All of this stuff will be discussed in detail at November's meeting. So November the 20th from 10 to 12, please be there, okay? If we find that, oh no, that is a terrible time for everybody, we need to change it now, okay? Because my office has a lot of things going on with the BEAD funding activities that will be happening with internet service providers over the next couple of months. And I want to make sure that I am prioritizing properly, and making sure that we have the right level of attention put to all the things. Okay. Additionally, if you think of something after this meeting and you're pondering the conversation and you have participated previously in human-centered design and you had an activity that was like phenomenal and you thought it was the best thing since sliced bread, please email Erica and or Robin or myself to say, hey, what about this activity, so that we make sure that we're paying attention to that. And there were a couple of things that I did put in the chat, not sure if you saw it. When we create materials that are to be used in outreach events, they will be in English and in Spanish. They will not just be in English. And things that we want to definitely consider is the activity easy to do at an outreach event? So if you're tabling and people are just walking by, is it an easy thing for them to participate with? Is it interactive and it piques their interest so that they want to stop and participate? And then how are we supposed to report back the data? How are we supposed to get that back? And the Office of Digital Inclusion after January will be setting up a whole set of listening sessions, community, I don't know what we want to call them, town halls, whatever. I have to get people's input on the Middle Mile project. So we will be setting up meetings all around that ring for the communities that are touching that ring so that they can give input. And so if they're going to give input on whether or not they're worried about if we're going to dig up their flowers in their front yard, and also we can get their input on digital equity and inclusion and what they would like to see Pima County doing, then we'll do that. Okay. So we'll have at least just at minimum those activities. But I will tell you, people have found out that our office is all about community outreach, and every other day I'm getting another activity that is being sent our way. Hey, we got this community outreach. Can you come? I have this one. Can you come? So I look forward to what we're doing in November. Erica, is there anything that you want to add to that?
No, thanks for covering all that, Michelle. But I'm excited to work with you all. So it's nice to meet some of you today. And I know we're missing a few folks, but it'll be great to see y'all in person in November.
Awesome. Does anybody have any last parting words that they want to throw out there?
It's really exciting. Thank you, Erica. Excited to work with you too.
Thanks, Jennifer.
All right, you guys. Well, thank you
Thank you,
all.
guys. Nice to meet you.
Nice to
Great.
meet you.
Great. Good to see you. All right. Take care, everybody. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Stop the recording.
We did it. Good. How you feeling?